We're going to move on real quickly to our next session, our next conversation. The leather supply chain, exploring sourcing, manufacturing, and market access solutions in Africa. And I'm also super excited to listen to the conversation around this.
Some people are wondering, Dr. Jerry, Nigeria has a leather institute, really doing what? Are they sure they're doing anything, right? So I want all of you to just take like a minute and a half to introduce yourself properly, say what it is that your platforms do. So I'm going to start with a feisty entrepreneur, the only woman supporting me on this platform, Demi.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Demi Samande, and I am a manufacturing enthusiast, founder of Majors Holdings, which is a furniture manufacturing company that started in England and then decided to move to the Nigerian market approximately 8 years ago now. So we focus predominantly on local manufacturing. I'm a leather specialist. My genesis in business started off as a leather restorer. I'm an antique furniture restorer who then ventured into furniture manufacturing of new products right here in Lagos.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, Demi. And then Shem.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shem. I'm the founder of Shem Paronelli, a footwear brand. All right. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Shem. I'm the founder of Shem Paronelli, a footwear and leather accessories company. We produce footwear and leather accessories for the discerning people, and we approach it from an artistic point of view. And we've been doing this for well over a decade now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Mensah. As you can tell from the name, I'm Ghanaian. But I've spent a lot of time in Nigeria, and I also have some Nigerian heritage in my family. My mother's name is actually Ebunoluwa, and her father is Bankole. So I guess we're all connected somehow, one way or the other. It's a pleasure to be here. I started my career actually in finance and technology. My background is actually in investment banking, and then I transitioned to entrepreneurship. I spent several years working in technology and finance companies around the world, mostly in London and also in Silicon Valley and here in Africa. And then at some point I decided to become an entrepreneur because I was really blown away by the creative talent of African creatives, African entrepreneurs. And wanted to work in an area where we could promote and support African creative entrepreneurs to build businesses and also expand their businesses to international markets. So that's what we do at Ananse.com. Ananse.com is a platform, an e-commerce platform for African creatives. It covers fashion, leather goods, and also home and decor. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to us engaging further on these issues.
Thank you very much, Sam. So Dr. Jerry, you're next.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us. My name is Dr. Jerry Tagang, representing the DG and CEO of the Nigerian Institute of Leather and Science Technology, Zaria. His name is Professor M.K. Yakubu, who would have loved to be part of this conversation, but he has asked us to. I'm saying us because I'm here with my colleague, Mr. Igili Andrew, who is sitting over there. Our institute has a mandate on training and research in leather technology. And we carry out our training at the level of ND. Our graduates are normally mobilized for the National Youth Service. We are an institute that was established since 1964, and we are under the purview of the Federal Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology. So we basically conduct training, and we also carry out research in leather and related fields. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just hold on to your mic. Dr. Jerry, the first question I have is actually for you. So your agency is 60 years, 6 decades. That's a whole lot. So a lot of people believe that, first and foremost, that the government isn't interested in anything creative or leather. Yes, we do know that a lot of funds have been created with the developmental banks, but they're wondering, is there anything that your agency can sincerely say it has done to deepen the leather space? That's one. And they also believe that the government has not demonstrated to take the leather industry, the Nigerian leather industry, to its rightful position. So, the institute that you work at, that is 6 decades, 60 years, that's a whole lot. Maybe you want to share some things that is contrary to what we believe, that government isn't doing anything.
Thank you so much. Very important issues you have raised with us. As a federal government agency, you are correct. Government has made funds available to our institute or through our institute to ensure the development of the leather sector in Nigeria. And as I mentioned, over the years, we have carried out a lot of training, and of course, human resource development in the leather sector is basically settled on our institute. And over the years, we have trained many. I'm a product of the institute, and I graduated in 1997, had my NYSC in 1998, and continued to develop my career onto, of course, since the Institute can only train only to H&D level, we have to progress with our studies elsewhere in the universities within Nigeria and overseas. The point I want to make is that key stakeholders in the leather industry are actually trained from our institution. If you go to the leather industry in Kano, the MDs, the production managers are graduates of our institution. Not only the conventional training, but we also carry out short-term training in footwear, in leather production, and so on. If you go to Aba, for instance, in Abia State, most of the footwear manufacturers were trained by our institution. We also have opportunity to develop policies for the leather sector. In 2018, our institution initiated the National Leather and Leather Product Policy, which was, of course, as you know, was approved by the Federal Executive Council. And in 2021, the implementation plan was launched by the then Vice President, Professor Osibanjo. Again, our institution, of course, links with other government agencies, collaborate with other agencies to ensure the development of the leather sector with regards to development of standards and also conformity assessment procedures. This we do in conjunction with the Standard Organization of Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes, so the government have a lot to invest a lot of funds in our institution. We have actually ensured that funds made available for our institutions are also well appropriated to the extent of developing the human capacity and also developing the framework for the sector in Nigeria.
For you to share with us, if you use only locally sourced fabrics that are homegrown in Nigeria, and how they compare to the imported. So what do you use most of, imported or local?
Well, at Shem Paronelli, we use about 85% imported leathers.
85% imported.
Yes. And the rest is, the locally sourced ones. Yeah, the rest are the locally sourced ones, but majority of what we make use of are imported, either Italian or Spanish. Yeah.
Okay, so majority of them are imported. And the reason why we're having this
and
conversation...
actually when I say local, I'm actually not just making reference to Nigerian. We also source some from Ethiopia as well. Yes.
Okay, some are sourced from Ethiopia. So what percentage of raw materials do you use that are actually homegrown Nigerian? So because you're saying Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Ethiopian isn't Nigerian.
Yeah, it's not. So
do we have anything we produce locally that you use?
Yes, actually. Most, there's a particular model of our products that we use exclusively Nigerian goat lining, for the lining of the footwear.
Okay, so the lining.
Yeah, for the lining, yes.
Is the lining leather?
Yeah, it's a lining leather.
The lining is leather. Okay, so that sounds like 5%.
Pretty much, it's actually
so
quite
95%
pretty
is
much.
actually brought in from
from outside.
And I think that's the major challenge that we have. We're having a conversation around the supply chain. We know government has set up an institute. They've set up different funds. We've had 60 years of that institute. But if, for you leather entrepreneurs that are here, 95% of what you have to use is imported, I can't even begin to ask him another question. So I'm going to ask, I feel for you, that's what I want to say. But I want to ask Demi, because Demi has both experiences, having set up a factory in the UK and in Nigeria, working with leather. So I want to ask what you think about our leather industry, vis-a-vis having worked in the UK and set up a factory.
Thank you for that question. Can everybody hear me? I think first and foremost, I have to say that we don't really have a leather industry, in all honesty. My experience of leather is quite vast. And entering the market, even when I'm sourcing for my own production, I think I have an advantage because I know what I'm looking for. I enter the market with my microscope and I know what I'm looking for amongst what is actually available. That is not the case for the majority of people here. I think a lot of the time, even those who are selling the products are not that knowledgeable of what it is they're even selling, beyond what it costs and what they're able to sell it for, and beyond the part of the item that they're using it to manufacture. A lot of them are actually lacking quite a lot of knowledge on the specifications and the details, the descriptions of the actual leather they're using and its application. So for me, I'm actually a bit of a leather, I'm a leather enthusiast, right? I grew up on leather, I'm obsessed with leather. My entire business started off because of my passion with leather. So entering a market like this and I'm seeing the raw materials every day is constantly in my face and we're not able to connect that to the end product, it worries me quite intensely because I see a huge amount of wastage. So to really answer your question, I don't think it's something that is impossible to do. I actually think it's a knowledge problem and it's also an access problem. We don't understand the value of the leather industry globally. Seeing natural resources surrounding us every day and seeing that we're not capable of translating that into value-added products and we're still having to operate 85%. You're saying 85% in your operations. My operations is probably 95 to 98%. Even because of the scale of what I'm doing, I can't rely on what's available in the market. And to be honest, I don't know why I'm even motivated to buy what's available in the market because it's been imported anyway. So I might as well go to the source where I can pick in abundance what I want, to the specifications that I want. And I understand why this gentleman is operating on 85% because there's no stability in what's available locally, even though there are leathers here, right? So it's easier for business, it's easier for selection processes, it's easier for quality control when we have to import. As sad as that is, that's just the situation that we're in. So unfortunately, no, we don't have a leather industry. That's pretty much the long short of my answer to that question.
And the next question is for Sam. So Sam, we know that Ananse.com is a platform So in your experience with the platform that you set up for entrepreneurs across Africa, what have you seen to be some of the common market access challenges that they face, specifically those in leather?
Thank you. So the challenges are plentiful, which is why we are in business. We have macro level challenges to do with infrastructure, challenges to do with logistics, challenges to do with payments, and these are big problems. Each of those problems is a PhD thesis in itself. But what we're good as Africans is figuring out solutions to complex problems. And so what we do at our platform is that we provide training for creatives. And in addition to providing training, the training touches on things like branding, how to create your brand, how to position your brand, understanding your customer. Market access is about connecting local entrepreneurs to customers locally and internationally. You need to know who that customer is, why you are selling, what are they looking for, and how does your product fulfill that need. If you don't understand that the key characteristics of your customer, then you will not be able to target your products to their needs. And then beyond the training, we also support payments and logistics, specifically around e-commerce. The beauty about the internet as a tool for trade is that it allows us to trade with each other all over the country and all over the world. But in Africa, because of our special challenges when it comes to things like logistics and payments, we have to work extra hard to put logistics mechanisms in place so that literally a leather goods provider from any country in Africa who is on our platform can sell to a customer in any country, anywhere in the world. And we have figured out the back end, partnered with the right logistics providers to be able to fulfill those orders. And then there's payments, especially cross-border payments. The ability for you as a merchant to be able to sell your product to anybody, anywhere in the world, in any currency, and be paid in your local currency without you having to worry about what's the exchange rate, what's happening to the dollar, what's happening to the naira, and you get paid what is due to you on time. So those are some of the nuts and bolts issues behind market access that we support creative entrepreneurs with.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So I have a lot of questions. I'm thinking I should open the floor to questions. But before opening the floor, I want the four of you to start to think for me pathways to solutions from a raw material sourcing perspective, from a management of our forex. Since 90% is imported, we will want to hear from you how you've managed that risk, because there's a foreign exchange risk. You buy it or you order it, by the time it comes to you, it's added 10 naira. What does that do to your operations? For the young leatherpreneurs that are in the audience, what are some tips that we can give them? Okay, so I just want you to start to think about that. And then for government, what are you guys doing? Okay, so I don't know that that's something we can answer on this panel, but we need to have some concrete things that the government not only says that they will do, but they actually do to actually move the needle. So the floor is open now. I don't know if I have some of the interns in the audience with mics, and if we don't, okay, so we have his hand is up, and there are 3 hands. Yeah, beside you, 3 of them, and there's 1 person here.
My name is Comrade Kushimo Ibrahim from Ogun State, and my question is, something last year or last 2 years, there is a rumors of banning of Momo because of leather and some things like that. And I believe these agencies that is into that. And I just want to ask, you should tell us more about that area. Are we banning Pomo because of leather? And if it is because of leather, why leather? And that is essence of we in this industry. We need to know that so that we know how to look at that, how we can be in benefit of that. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll take them in threes. There are two other hands that were that were up here.
I'm Opeyemi Ogundijo, a shoemaker from Ibadan. My question is directed to you, sir. You held a ministry that some things that have to do with the leather industry. You are training people, you have a school. What are you doing to curb this exportation of raw leather, raw skins and hides abroad? Because I believe that all this leather that are being imported from Spain, from Italy, and so on, there are leather that have been exported raw from Nigeria abroad. They are being bought at very high prices, imported back. So what is your ministry doing to curb this issue of exportation? Because I see leather just like a crude oil that is exported and the finished product is now imported back into the country. And some years ago at this fair, because I've been attending this fair since 2017, some statistics were given about what Nigeria is losing in terms of leather, you know, the amount of money. So what is your ministry doing to curb this?
Curb the
so that
exportation
we have more
of leather.
Local leather being used in Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much.
My name is Lawal Ibrahim Shehu, Creative Director for Lawal Signature Limited, a footwear company based in Ibadan. Now, I have two questions. I'm going to take it really fast. The first one is for the DG Nihilist representative. Sir, I understand that in Lagos here, roughly 10,000 cattle are being slaughtered daily. Now, in terms of raw material sourcing, you know, I am a shoemaker myself. You know, there's a gap. There's a serious gap. I've been thinking, why don't we have these tanneries down here? Why is it that all of the tanneries we have are up north? I know we have tanneries in Sokoto, Kano, and all of that. I travel a lot as a result of my job. Now, we can have a tannery here in Lagos. The industry, this is where it is. This is where it is. That's my question for you, sir. Why don't we have a tannery here? Thank you. And for Mr. Mensah, am I correct, sir?
Mensah.
Oh, good. So, on your platform, I belong to a couple of such kind of platform. What's your percentage for vendors? What's your percentage for vendors? And you talked about, you know, a vendor should not worry about whether he has a domiciliary account, whatever. If you have your, say, a GT Bank account and my product is being sold to somebody in, say, South America, and I'll get my money paid into my account. How do you pay? Do you pay monthly? Do you pay per 2 weeks, a fortnight? And how do I trust your brand that, say I put up my product on your platform for 100,000 naira and it's being sold, you know, for that amount equivalent in the USD? How am I sure you sold it for that amount it's being put out for? So we don't have a contradiction between the seller and the buyer. A buyer buys it above what I said it should be sold and does not come back again. So thank you very much. That's my question.
All right, thank you. And the last question from the gentleman.
Thank you very much. To the representative of the DG Nihilist again. This is meant to be a conversation, right?
Absolutely, so, please, go ahead.
I'm not going to be asking any questions. I just want to follow through on what Awal said, right? If it is true that 10,000 cattle is slaughtered in Lagos every day, then we have raw material for leather. Just like him, the only thing I depend on Nigerian leather for is lining, and that's just about 5%. So I think, now your institute deals with training. The thing is, your institute is thousands of miles away from where we are slaughtering 10,000 cows every day. Leather tanning is not rocket science. Human beings have been doing it for as long as we know human beings have existed on this planet. So take some people for some kind of training. I understand that also a problem with tanning leather is how you deal with the outcome of having to tan the leather, the waste product, right? But I think there are a lot of people in this room here today who probably will give up being shoemakers and bag makers if they could be trained on how to cottage industry operators of leather tanning. If we start that conversation and follow it through, I think we are on our way to celebration. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your question. So just a recap on the questions. The first one is, are they really banning pomo or not, right? That was it. The second one was around the tanneries. Why do we have them up north? Why don't we have them down south? The third one, are we collecting our cash? Are you sure I'm going to collect my cash? And then how do you make sure that they don't rip me off? I just clarify that. And then the last one, still around the tanneries as well. And why both of you answer, I'd like a leather enthusiast whose whole life is all about leather to jump in around tanning. And even, I don't even know, do we even know what it costs to set up a tannery? That's another question. So over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your questions and issues raised concerning availability of raw material for our entrepreneurs. It's very important for us to note the value chain with regards to the leather industry. It starts from animal husbandry all the way through. Now, I mentioned the issue of leather policy, which has already a framework on how to harness our resources for to be available for those in this trade. Now, the issue of whether we have enough raw material to be able to convert to sufficient leathers that we need for our leather industry here in Nigeria or not, the answer is yes, we have sufficient raw materials. Whether we are exporting this raw material to other African countries and Europe and the other of the world, we already have a that bans exportation of raw hide and skins. We also have a regulations that ban exportation of wet blue. Now, we are supposed to add value to raw hide and skins to turn to leather, then shoemakers, handbags, manufacturers, and all of that can convert that to actually add value to that. But you see, the major challenge we have is what the gentleman has already mentioned there. When you look at the number of cattle that are slaughtered in Lagos alone, and you now look at the recovery, how much of this percentage of the hides from these cattle is actually recovered for the tanneries, you will discover that it's almost like zero, because we use these raw hides as pomo. And if we eat our pomo, it's equivalent as eating our shoes. It's equivalent to eating our handbags and our belts. Okay? And that is why we have the campaign of against eating of pomo. And this, of course, campaign was launched here in Lagos. Mr. Igili, are you with us? Which year? Last year. The campaign was launched here in Lagos, in Ikeja, and of course we have all the government representatives there. But the issue is that the lady over there mentioned that we don't have a leather industry in Nigeria. No, we have. However, the problem is that the leather industry in Nigeria export the leathers to Europe, and again, being imported back to the country. I think that is what you meant by saying we don't have leather industry, but we do have a number of tanneries that export world-class leathers that meets international standard. And you know that there is this concept which I believe some of you have been following. We have this concept of one market, one standard. This concept is by the organization of African Organization for Standardization. And as a country, we must appreciate the fact that there is intra-African trade in this sector that is going on, and there are certain things that are being put in place that we need to be aware and also to be carried along. If not, others will take advantage of our market and actually will not really gain as we should. So the issue is that we have enough raw materials. We need to discourage eating of pomo. We also need to ensure that we make our products based on international based practice. Now, she also mentioned something very important.
Yeah, let me just say to you, sir, that my argument isn't that you don't have raw material industry. What you have is a pomo industry. That is what is bringing value with your leather. You don't have leather. Because if you're importing or you're producing $60 million worth of leather products, but you're importing $130 million of leather products into the country, you're working in deficit. That is not an industry. We're producing raw materials, we're not producing value-added products, so therefore there is no industry because we're not positioning ourselves to be able to maximize on those raw materials. And as long as it remains as raw material, that's simply what it is, raw material. And if we're also exporting our wet blues and we're bringing them back in at 2,000% markup from what we sold it for, we're losing a great deal of money. And it doesn't help those who are producing, leather goods when they have to bring in, Italian leather to produce a shoe for 60K and then sell it for how much market when the Italian guy is making 2,000% profit margins and you're making 10%. That is not an industry. What we're doing is we're getting busy, but we're not making profit, and it's unfortunate.
Okay, I think I understood the perspective in which you made your point. So that is it. We need to do more. And you know that the leather industry is profit-driven. Government can only create the environment for it. It is purely private. So setting up industry, leather industry, in Lagos, for instance, it's a private thing. Government can only encourage those that want to invest in this sector to
Is there anything government has actively done to encourage?
Yes.
So tax rebates, what have they done? Any creation of any cluster area in the southwest so that people that want to invest can invest and they will have maybe tax rebates or? Yes.
Government have done a lot. I've talked about the leather policy, which entails so many things. Again, that leather policy provides tax holidays for those that want to invest in the sector. So that is what government is doing to encourage those that will actually invest in the sector. Again, government is ensuring that we educate our entrepreneurs to ensure that we actually make products based on the required standards.
Okay.
Because, please, permit me to add. The 30th General Assembly for ASO held last week in Abuja. And we have their delegates from all over Africa. What did they do? They actually tried to ensure this matter of one market, one standard. How do we as Nigerians key in to ensure that we actually benefit from this? That is part of the African Continental Free Trade Area agreement. So
that was a conversation that took place in Abuja.
Yes.
But I have another question, and time is actually up. So I don't know whether it's a question. It's more like an observation. So there's so many policies that have been laid out. You talked about them saying no to pomo, But I'm almost certain that every government event I go, they'll serve amala, and the amala, there'll be more inside the stew. So it seems like we're talking, but we're not doing. And if we say we've banned, the products, the government is supposed to make sure that they are actually banned. But what are they doing at the ports? There are certain high tariffs, so people can bring things in, but they should actively, deliberately make sure that they're assisting the entrepreneurs. So the policies, the conversations that they have, it seems like there's so many different talk shops. But for leather industry to actually take its place and thrive, we need more than talk. We need to ensure that indeed, yes, they've set up the policy, but if you have 10,000 cows that are slaughtered every time in Lagos, it's not even that. For me, it's more than that, because there's consistency of the leather. And it's unfortunate, we're supposed to have more than the time that has been allotted. So you guys owe us 30 more minutes. But the conversation would have been around quality. Okay? So it's 10,000 cows that they've brought. Are they the same type of cow? By the time they walk from the north here, what happens to the hides? Okay? So beyond saying we have 10,000 cows, are they the same type? Because I know leather, by the time they're slaughtering, they're doing whatever they need to do to it, if there are different, I'm using the wrong word, species of cows or types of cow, I think that means that we're not going to have the same quality. So it's beyond just setting up the tannery, and that's the challenge we have as a country. We have so many dots everywhere. We're not connecting the dots. So it starts from identifying the types of cows that are grown, the ones that give us the best hide, and then ensuring that they're in a consistent and sustainable manner, taken care of well enough to get to the tannery. And then maybe we can start having that conversation of, do we even have an industry or not? Unfortunately, time is up. It's a very interesting conversation. I'm not going to let you guys go without just telling us one last thing to inspire. There's many people that came from Ibadan, from everywhere. There are young entrepreneurs here that are in leather, about to get into leather. What advice would you give them? Or your younger self operating in a VUCA economy like Nigeria?
All right. Thank you so much. I think you've actually given like a 360 view of what the problem is. It's not just about, what do we have? It's about what is the quality of what we have. It's also about what is the quality of the manufacturing. And I believe that's why she said that we absolutely don't have an industry. Because when it comes to someone like myself, who actually works with leather, to produce luxury products, you can't just use any leather. So all leathers are not leathers, So I would like to say to the young entrepreneur who works with leather or who's aiming to start a business with leather, the first thing, is to define your market. You have to know who you are dealing with. You have to know who your customer is. You have to determine who the core target market is for you, right? I know that most of us just want to make lots of products and then hopefully believe that we're going to sell them. But first and foremost, it's very important that you define who the customer is, and then that will kind of help you niche down on what sort of materials you're going to go for. That will help you niche down on how to, add value. I know we're speaking of supply chain here, but also value adding to the products that you make, where he spoke about, helping the creatives to brand their business, but of course there's no branding if you don't know who you are appealing to, so that's the very critical thing, that you must make sure that you know who your customer is. You define them by psychography, you define them by demography, you define them by all of these parameters that you use in defining your customers. And then you can be able to know that, okay, I'm ready to get into business. Thank you.
I would say that you really need to arm yourself with knowledge. We talk a lot about leather, but we're not actually really talking about leather. Leather is a very complex, very intriguing, very interesting industry, right? There's so much knowledge there that is missing from this market, and it's very difficult to start anything sustainable when you don't first arm yourself with the knowledge. And we're so lucky we're in the day and age where we have access to information. I can't teach you everything I know about leather from just sitting here for 40 minutes. So do the research. Understand that the leather industry is far more than just leather shoes and bags, right? There's so many. Once I remove a cowhide, you slice the leather in this direction. The top level is your top quality hide, right? Your top Italian, top level stuff. And then you keep sliding it down, sliding it down. And that what now determines what you're using it for in terms of application. It's so detailed. And what the government really needs to do first and foremost is empower these people with the knowledge first of the depth in which this industry actually goes. Once we have that, then I would encourage the young people to really think bigger. Think bigger than what's just in front of you. There's a world of industry out there, and people are doing phenomenal things with their local materials. Think bigger than just being the person who makes leather from raw materials that you've bought in the market. Can you go into businesses in an industry where we're actually manufacturing using eco-friendly tanning processes? Really, alternatives. There's so many open opportunities in this industry that when I say we don't really have an industry, it's because we haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg. It goes far deeper than what we're talking about today. And I think, yes, start with educating yourself. Start thinking bigger in terms of opportunities within the industry. And start thinking ways you can actually start to collaborate. Have conversations about these opportunities and see there's opportunities where you can actually raise funds to start this business. I love what the gentleman on the right said. He said, this is not a government thing. These are private things, but the government have to give you the empowering tools to be able to do that. But there's also things that we can do collectively ourselves to empower ourselves to really take the industry. We're all investing in technology, we're all investing in various different things, but are we solving local problems? The leather industry is a local problem, and we can solve it from this room. So start having conversations amongst yourselves and really just, utilize the knowledge you find to your advantage, and don't think small. You can do far more than you could possibly imagine.
So I quickly want to answer the question I was asked about percentages. We take a 10% commission. And the question also around transparency of pricing. How much does the e-commerce platform sell it for versus what you want it sold for? So the way we work is that it's fully transparent. So you actually set the price. So it's not like because there's a lot of, I understand where the question comes from, because there's a lot of exploitation of African creatives where people come, they buy something for a very low price, and they go to the US or Europe and sell it for 10 times the price. So in this case, you determine the price. The commission we get is determined by the price that you set. So it's fully transparent. It's on the internet. You can see what customers are buying it for. When there's an order, you get a notification, and it tells you exactly where the customer is and exactly how much they paid. So there's no secret, and how much our commission is. There's a clear accounting statement that you'll get. So it's all very transparent. So to wrap up, one of the challenges that we observe when it comes to successfully trading online as African businesses, we find that customers around the world, which is what we're trying to encourage, more global customers for African creative products, for African leather products, what we find is that there's a trust deficit. They don't trust us. They don't trust our quality primarily. And as a result of that, it is very important for us to ensure that we invest in quality. So one of the things that we are doing is we are investing in a fashion center of excellence here in Lagos. And that fashion center of excellence is going to have a leather studio. And that leather studio will be open to entrepreneurs who are seeking to improve the quality of the products that they are making, including having access to training and also having access to machinery that they can use in their production process, booking time to use machinery that you may otherwise not be able to afford by yourself. So my parting short advice would be do two things. Firstly, start using the internet to promote your product. Visit our stand. We have a stand on anse.com, and we can guide you on how to start doing that if you're not already doing that. And if you're doing it, we can help you do it better. The second thing I'd advise you to do is we are actually opening up the Fashion Center of Excellence to inputs, because we don't know everything. We want to learn from people who are working in leather, people who are entrepreneurs, government give us input into the setup of this center. So we are inviting all the leather businesses that are here to participate in that process, visit our stand and give us input. We're going to have a raffle. We're going to give ₦1 million prize to one lucky contributor. We're trying to encourage as many people as possible to give us input for the setup of this center, which ultimately will support and elevate leather entrepreneurs here in Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Dr.
All right.
Jerry.
Hello.
Thank you once more for the opportunity to mention that because of time, we cannot really say much, but I also want to add the fact that our institute, we carry a lot of research, and part of this outcome or output of our research has to do with tanning agents. We know when you mentioned about vegetable tanning, I needed to mention this because we've been able to develop vegetable tannins instead of importing these tanning materials from America and Europe that we use in processing the leather. Our institute have been able to develop some of these tanning agents, which of course we have taken to the leather industry in Kano. They have done all the trials and they said it's comparable with Mensah, which is a tanning agent that is normally imported from America. And when we finish all the process of patenting and all of that, they will of course start exploring that for the local market. My final words, please let's work on standards. Whatever you do, ensure that you understand the quality required for that product and try to meet up standards, because we have a lot of opportunity with the one market, one. Please, let's work on that to ensure that whatever we're doing, meeting the right standards. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to my panelists. And to just wrap up, everything that they've said, for me as a lecturer, I always use acronyms. That's the only way I learn. So it's KID. So that's SKIED. S for standards, whatever it is that you're doing, whether you're in Ibadan, you're in Lagos, you're in Damaturu, ensure that it has standards. The K is knowledge. Like Demi said, arm yourself with knowledge. And we can start with the internet, which is the I. So I is for internet, is for information. Information is power. The E is to engage. We need to engage, we need to collaborate, and we heard that from all of them. And then lastly, and most importantly, because you're not making for yourself, you're making to sell. Define your customer, right? That's what Shem said. Define your customer. Who is your customer? A lot of entrepreneurs are making things from a supply perspective, what they want to give, not what the customer is asking for. So are you indeed making what your customer wants or what you want to give? If you're making what you want, you have to end up carrying all your bags, wearing all your belts, and wearing all your shoes. And with that, I say thank you very much for engaging, and thank you to my panelists.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. Well done. Thank you so much to our wonderful moderator. You did such a fabulous job. And our speakers would like to say thank you. And so to thank you, we have a token. I'd like our moderator to please do a presentation. This is for Demi, Samande. We'd like to take pictures. Once you get it, please take your seat again so we can take pictures. Yes.
On behalf of LLF version 7, we say thank you for provoking us and letting us know that we do not have a leather industry. And letting us know that there's so much more to do. Thank you so much for sharing. In handing this over to you to give Prof, tell Prof that this is heavier than it looks. With this comes all the anxieties that the leatherpreneurs in this hall have, where the government is concerned. As we give him this, that he should remember that you guys have a mandate to ensure that we have less stock shops, more tanneries, more policies that encourage, empower entrepreneurs. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. Are creative. And do you see his footwear? He's repping very well. Thank you so much, Shem. By the time you see me next, I'll be wearing one of the gender-neutral apparels. Thank you. Yes. Mr. Mensah, you know this is the main person you guys need. Because when you finish producing, you can't wait, right? Who's going to help you sell globally? Sam. So Sam has a stand, and I encourage everybody to go and visit that stand and find out how you can showcase on the platform. Thank you so much, Sam.
A wonderful moderator for steering the conversation phenomenally. Thank you so much. Can I have Mrs. Femi Olaibi come take pictures with everyone? Can you please rise? Thank you. Can I have Mrs. Olaibi come forward? Yes, she's right there. Come forward to take pictures. Yes, please.